Hi, this is Brian McGee from Propaganda. And you're listening to the New Wave Music Podcast.
Welcome back today on the New Wave Music Podcast. We're joined by a special guest, Mr. David Sterry from the legendary band Real Life. I'm sure, David, most of our listeners are going to remember Real Life from such hits as Catch Me, I'm Falling.
Catch me, I'm falling down again. I know it's a dream, but just the same.
God Tonight. And of course, the mega hit, Send Me an Angel.
You're looking for love, calling heaven above. Send me an angel. Send me an angel. Right now.
David, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Usually I'm joined with our co-host T-Bone, but he's on assignment, not able to join us today. We're just going to go ahead and get started with the interview, David.
Sure.
Could you tell me what inspired you to become a musician?
I'm useless at anything else. I failed. I didn't pass anything in school. I so much wanted to learn, and I tried so hard, but I'm just one of those people that is not capable of learning this. I think I'm a bit dyslexic, to be honest. And there wasn't, I very much wanted to have a life. And when I was very young, the Beatles were out and the Stones were out, and then Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin. And I thought, wow, I'd love to be able to do something like that, even if it wasn't becoming a pop star myself, but I wanted to do music. So
and that kind of leads into a follow-up, and it sounds like you may have already answered that, but who were your influences, or who are your current influences?
There's always great music around. And when I was young, in high school, Sgt. Pepper's came out. Then Jimi Hendrix came along and Cream came along. And I loved all that stuff that sort of led into heavy metal. I guess and nowadays I realize how much it was the blues. And so going back to find out the influence of Zeppelin and the Stones and discovering the great blues players. So it's strange how I ended up writing such silly little pop songs like Send Me an Angel and Catch Me, I'm Falling after that. But, finally, there was no way. I got into prog music like bands like Yes and Pink Floyd, but there's no way I was a good enough musician to play that sort of music. And then punk came along and it took it back to 3 chords. And then New Wave came along and made it more interesting and sort of made way for people like me who weren't that brilliant a musician or a singer. So that's where it started.
I for one, I'm glad you chose that path. So you named a couple of those songs that have been staples of growing up and listening to. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
In your many years in the music industry, it's obviously has changed over the last years, even the last couple of years. How have you had to adapt?
Well, just coming out of COVID, all the work went away. There's no work for a start. The music business has changed, especially if you're an older artist like me. No one wants a new record from you these days. You're not going to get played on radio or written about in the press. You're just some heritage singer in the background that's not expected to keep creating. So, and of course, the different mediums, vinyl, because we started in the vinyl era, then it became the CD era, and then the MP3 era. And I, for one, got very nostalgic a few years ago and wanted to make a new record and made sure I made it on vinyl and CD. Because there's a whole lot of fans in our range group that they won't, if I give them a free download, they don't want it. Well, we don't play downloads. And then if someone who would like a download doesn't want a CD, and someone who doesn't want a CD doesn't want vinyl. So it's very hard to please everybody. You've got no chance of, being on radio or in the press. So for me, I guess there's less opportunity. And I kind of have concerns for younger musicians, how they're going to break through and make a living from the sale of their music. And well, they seem to be doing fine. I guess I shouldn't worry too much about them, but it's changed. It's gone full circle. It's completely changed for me.
But your latest album, Sirens, was that done through like a crowdfunding, or did you just do that on your own?
Just did it on my own. And that was the record. I thought, I'm going to make a vinyl album. Maybe the last record I make, but I want it to be on vinyl and I want it to be on CD. And of course it has to be on Spotify and those platforms as well. But yeah, it was a case of, I wanted to make a vinyl album where you could sit down, had a gatefold cover. It was like back in the old days when I'd get a brand new album and you'd go around to your friend's place who had the best stereo, and you would all sit there with their mum would make you a cup of tea and you'd read through every word that was on that album. And they're often hidden little funny things on there. And I wanted to do that, and it was not about making any money or imagining that anyone was going to buy it. But I did that. It's quite a process from having an idea in your head to actually making it physical, something that you can hold in your hands. So it was an enjoyable process. I enjoyed the writing. It was very tongue-in-cheek. I never expected anybody to listen to it or like it. But the fact is that I'm so very, very proud of it. And it has, when people hear it and we play parts of it live, people do love it. It's been a logical extension of what I would say our new wave sound and career from where we started.
Oh, no doubt. And I love the fact that you wanted to recreate that vinyl and that experience of going back and unfolding the vinyl, reading through all the liner notes, and even just that smell you get from the liner, the printing of the liner notes.
Yeah,
Get that on a digital.
No, you can't. It was a lot of fun. And anyone who's got it, the CD is the same, has the same gatefold cover. There's lots of silliness on there. There's some very tongue-in-cheek humor. There's some barefaced lies. It's just me having a really funny time without having to sort of answer to anybody. There's no record company to say you can't do that, you can't write that on your record, or there's no other band people really to say, oh, you can't say that. So I just had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the whole process.
Yeah. So let's talk about the new album. This is your first one you've done in, I believe, in 11 years, right? Yeah,
that's true. I'm lazy.
And was it just you that worked on it?
Yeah, I sort of brought in a guy. I'm not good. I made it in a program called Logic that comes with an Apple computer sort of thing. It's like the big brother of GarageBand. And I've got a little room at home that I call my home studio. I've got lots of synthesizers and guitars. And the thing I'm not that good at is mixing. I know how it works, how you've got to match the frequency of the bass drum with the frequency of the bass guitar and make them work together. I know all that, but the only thing that I'm ever worried about is does my voice sound good or crap? So I can't hear to do those mixes. So I got a guy to mix the stuff, and then I uploaded it to a mastering place in London to be done online. So, but I recorded everything myself, all the instruments that were played, even though I'm not a keyboard player. I programmed all the synthesizers, played all the guitar parts, did all the vocals. I recorded everything on my own.
One thing that we've spoken with a lot of different bands, one thing that has changed, as you said, with COVID, is it did impact a lot of remote recording. Sounds like you sent us off remotely to get mixed. And a lot of artists I've spoken with, kind of, if there's one positive to come out of COVID, is they kind of like this remote, take it at their own pace.
Oh yeah, it's been around a lot. The online stuff has been around long before COVID. I mean, you can get stuff mixed and mastered at Abbey Road if you've got the budget. If you think something's really fabulous, you can upload it to Abbey Road. They cost a lot more, but you can pretty much pick out who does the mixing and on what stuff. Do you want them to do it through the Beatles compressor, or do you want it to do through the Pink Floyd compressor or something like that? So that's been around for a long time. And it's just there's a lot more people doing that now, and they offer different packages where they can make it a bit more analog for you. And there's all sorts of things around that you can do like that. But that was part of COVID, people working more like that, and people doing this as well, Zoom meetings. Thank God for these.
Yeah. So on the new album, Sirens, the opening track, it's a 16-minute epic song, kind of filled with different instruments and beats, and almost kind of like 4 or 5 different themes that song takes, or turns that song takes. How did that song come together?
Well, I thought I'm lazy. I thought, okay, why don't I'll make one side of the album like a prog thing where it's a storytelling like Yes would do or something, and then make the other side like 5 poppy songs that you'd definitely play live. And I thought Sirens. I've always been interested in the legend of the Sirens. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. You know how it's going to end. No one ever gets away from the Sirens. And it was a case of, okay, big mouth, So I came up with the opening song, I saw the Sirens singing, about someone who couldn't hear them but saw them. And it progresses to, where he sees them and hears them. And then, of course, I thought, oh, that's good, because I don't have to write. I can have 5 parts to it, but I don't have to write an intro, a middle 8, and a solo, an end part. Every bit can be its own little part of it, but not have to be a full song. And but then I realized that I had to make the Sirens sing, and I thought, oh, no, now I'm in trouble. What am I going to do? How would the Sirens sound? And I kind of came up with that sort of by accident. I was worrying about something, and I had a female sample on my keyboard, and for some reason my hand just started playing the part of the Sirens, and I thought, oh, this is good, and got that, and then progressed through the story of after he heard the Sirens singing, the boat started leaking, and then, of course, as happens when you're drowning, aliens heard his calls for help and thought, well, we're going to help out, but then they failed, and of course the end is inevitable. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. As soon as I thought, I nearly stopped and I thought, oh no, what are the Sirens going to sing? And as soon as I got that part, I thought, oh, this is great. This is going to be fun. So
yeah, and I really enjoyed that track. Normally when you see a 16-minute long track, you're kind of like, oh, what am I in for? Is this going to be a chore to go through? And it breezes through. And I think it's because of that storytelling, and you got those different parts going.
Yeah. I'm very happy with the reaction to that. People do like it. They get my sense of humor, and they go, well done for doing that. Well done for going, this is never going to be played on radio, but well done for doing it. And yeah.
And he said there's also some kind of more pop type set tracks. Some that stood out to me was Dream On. Monster.
My beautiful monster, calling out my name. My beautiful monster, here she comes again.
Here comes the spaceman.
Heaven help the human race learn to breathe in outer space, but down from the stars. There's been a message from Mars. Here comes the spaceman.
Really, pretty much everything on this album was great. But our listeners sent in a question. They were curious. Do you have a favorite real life track, whether it be on this album or anything in your extensive catalog?
That's really hard. They're all my babies. They're all my children. You're asking me to discriminate. Going back to the first album, my favorite songs are actually Burning Blue and Open Hearted on that first album. Of course, I love Send Me an Angel, but Burning Blue and Open Hearted, they're both in the set these days. Then, of course, Face to Face from the second album, God Tonight, of course, from the third album, and bits and pieces. But up to the thing that I love most, and the guys who are playing in the band in this new set, we played for the first time about 3 weeks ago in Melbourne. And the new stuff, we're playing My Beautiful Monster and Here Come the Spacemen and Dream On, and they go down so well. And what's the other one? The Color of Light goes down very, very well. So, I get really excited when I get to play the new ones. And the people seem to love them. They go down very well.
Very nice. Another track on there, Where's God?
Where's God? Well, this is happening. Where's God? Well, this is happening. Where's God? Well, this is happening.
Sounds like that should be a track that should be playing at the clubs or even live. Have you played that one live? And what's the reception?
No, we haven't. I haven't played that one because it's like it's fairly epic, and it took a lot recording it to get the vocals right. It's sort of almost past my range, and I'm sure I could sort of do it, but that hasn't fit into the set yet. I'm trying to organise a show here in Melbourne, where I live, where we play like the entire Sirens record from beginning to end, take a break, and then come back and play all the favourites of everybody. But I'd love to play. This is the record, the only record that we've ever made that I would love to play from beginning to end. For sure.
Yeah, it's a great album. And if our listeners haven't heard it, I really encourage you to pick that up. The last time I saw you was back in, I think, 2019 as part of the Lost 80s live tour here in the States.
You were there that day. It was a beautiful, hot, warm day. And it was great. I love Salt Lake City. I have some very fabulous memories of playing there over the years. I know Salt Lake is such a big kind of new wavy, Depeche Mode, Real Life, Alphaville, all those bands, the Banshees. That's a big thing with Salt Lake City people. I don't know, it must be something in the water, the salt in the water or something up there but it's always good to play there. Yeah,
I think the new wave culture kind of got injected here and hasn't really left. A few years ago, we talked to Midger, and he really was shocked about the reception he got coming back after all these years.
Yeah, I've got a show with Midge in October in Germany, actually.
Wow. That would be a great
German tour coming up. Hopefully nothing's, the code thing or isn't going to be there. But yeah, I've got a German tour, and at the very end of the tour, I've got a show with OMD and Midge. I did a show with Midge a few years ago, just before the COVID thing. Once again in Germany, we have the same agent in Germany. He's a lovely man.
Nice. Speaking on my selfish behalf, I really hope we see you in the States sometime sooner than later again. You do put on a great show.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'd love to see you more than just part of a big festival where you only can play a certain amount of songs.
Me too. I would love to do that. It all comes down to things like the visas situation. It's incredibly hard to get a performing visa to go to America. It costs a lot of money, takes months to happen, and you never know whether you're going to get it. That last tour you mentioned in 2019, I think I applied for the visa like 5 months ahead of the tour. And it was 2 days before the tour started that I got it. And so, I bought airfares, the promoters saying, what's happening? Are you going to be okay? And it was the same for all the other acts, for Wang Chung and the Flock of Seagulls people that, we're all in that situation of apply for your visa, but don't actually make any plans. So there's that part of it. Also with the big shows, they sell very well. As much as I'd love to be in Salt Lake playing small shows, maybe with another band like Berlin or someone like that. It's the organisation of it these days and the cost that's the inhibiting factor. I mean, I'd play for nothing practically anywhere. As long as somebody wanted to see me, I'd be very happy to be there.
So it sounds like you kind of already hinted about this question, but another one we had a listeners submit is: we'll be seeing another another full-length Real Life album anytime soon, or is this kind of?
I sort of doubt it, to be honest. That I'm just really getting too old, and it's a point where with Sirens, you have to play something. You're going to make it. It needs to be played. Not just people who bring out an album and never perform live. My whole reason for being a musician is playing live, and the writing is a part I have to do to be able to play live. So if I thought that I could go and play another new album again, I would probably do it again. But at the moment, I'm just, because of COVID, stopped Sirens being played. I sort of still need to go play that everywhere. It's still a new album to everyone anyway. And
I just discovered it. I didn't know it was out for almost 2 years now, and I stumbled across it, and it's like you said, you're just not getting, and it's a shame you're not getting that exposure or promotion or airplay.
Well, that's what happens for an independent artist, and just playing here recently, the amount of work that I've got to do that's not musical to get my band onto a stage, and all the promotion, all the internet stuff, all the social media stuff, it really takes its toll, because I'm just getting too old to do all that sort of stuff. I love getting up and playing, but it's the lengths you've got to go through to get to that stage. It's really time consuming, and it's draining on the soul.
And if I can go back just to your previous album back in 2009, the 80s Synth Essentials, the Send Me an Angel cover album. I personally loved your covers of Primary by The Cure. Fade to Grey by Visage.
We fade to gray.
How did you decide what songs to cover?
They were my favorite songs. That was very interesting because I guess that's sort of what led up to me making Sirens on my own, actually, is that out of the blue, Cleopatra Records came out, who are a great company. And they said, David, how about you re-record Send Me an Angel and make a whole album of some of your favorites? And my heart said, yes, but my brain said no, because I had no idea how to record in the computer and make a whole album. So my heart won with the yes. I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that, no problem. And I was actually learning how to use the logic in the computer while I was making it. There was a set of lessons that came out from a Canadian company. So I was looking how to record vocals, how to record guitars, and then doing it on that album. So I learned how to record by making that album. And I just picked out some favorite songs that I thought that would suit my voice. I'm glad you liked the Cure one, because I had a lot of fun doing that one.
Oh, that was great. I like the whole album. That just stood out as a unique version.
And I was so surprised that people really love it. And Cleopatra are a great company. I get paid royalties for that. And it shows up, my version of Blue Monday comes in royalties, and I go, what?
How does it feel to treat me like you do? When you laid your hands upon me and you told me who you are.
Blue Monday is like the holy grail for me, and my version does okay. So I learned a lot out of doing that, and people seem to like it. And I'm always surprised when somebody brings it up, because I never imagined anybody heard it, but they have heard it. So that's good.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Thank you.
So just another follow-up question, the one that we like to ask all our guests who have had a big hit. But your hit, Send Me an Angel, do you ever get sick of playing that song?
No, never. One, I love the song. And from where I'm standing, I see nothing but smiling faces. And especially after everything that people have been through with COVID, it was great just a few weeks ago to sing it on stage, and just people for 3.5 minutes, they forget that COVID was around, or forget everything else that's bad that's happened to them. So it's a real privilege, and I can go anywhere in the world and get that reaction. I can play it remember playing it many years ago in Lima in Peru, and none of the audience could speak English, but they sang it so loudly at me. They knew all the words, even though they couldn't talk to me in English. They sang it so loud, it was deafening. And it was that's a very humbling situation to be in, for sure, for anyone.
That's very cool. So it sounds like you are kind of doing some tours on the other side of the globe. We do have listeners throughout in many different countries, so they might be to luck out and see you. How can our listeners stay up to date with your tour dates? Buy Sirens, get your music?
Pretty much Facebook these days. That as much as I don't love social media, people stop looking at web pages, and you've pretty much got to be on Facebook to promote, because all your audience are on there, whether you like it or not. So you've got to be on there and promote that. So, but I want to play anywhere in the world. Start petitions,
Well, I'll start petitions here in Salt Lake.
Whatever.
Get you back.
Yeah. And I love Salt Lake, of course. I want to go there.
Nice.
They have trams in Salt Lake. I know we have trams in Melbourne, just like your Salt Lake trams. I feel very at home there, and it's beautiful.
Well, thank you, David. David, thanks again for taking the time to chat with us and share some insight with with our listeners. I do want to say to our listeners again, if they have not had a chance to see you live, go see David live. He is amazing. And also the new album, Sirens, is amazing. It's phenomenal. And if it is the last real life album, it's a great album to go off of, to end on.
Steve, thank you so much for taking the time and showing so much interest in my music. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, David.